A warm welcome to each one of you. This is the Naomi Talk Show with yours truly, Liz Kenywa. And kama kawaida, I want to appreciate each one of you that has checked our content, and we truly hope that you've learned something, you've been inspired, and you've been equipped by what we get to share on a regular basis. Today, I want us to reflect back. There's one time we were discussing about how to prepare yourself as a woman to get pregnant or to carry that pregnancy. Now, I hope you still have your notes, because me, I have mine. And there are a few things I wrote, and I'm sure our guest, our expert in this area, will add more to it. We talked about if you really want to get pregnant, of course, after marriage, every woman wants to get a baby. That one we agreed. So you have to remember a few things, like you have to detox, you have to avoid very strong scented perfumes, deodorants, you know, all those things that we use that kama wanawake, na mafuta. You have to do some workouts. And of course, once the baby is loaded in the system, you have to do an antenatal clinic. I'm doing very well so far. Yeah. Very well, yeah? I hope you still have your notes, so that tuendelee from there. You have to get your supplements, and of course, she got to explain why you need your supplements. You have to maintain exercise, and remember to constantly talk to your baby. Hapo ndio tuliachia. I hope you can remember from that point. So we want to pick it up from there, and of course, today we are looking at breastfeeding and complementary feeding. But before then, allow me to introduce our guests, bring our guests back, and do a recap kidogo tu from her point. Kuna vitu nimeweza kuwa nimesahau hapa, ama tuliachilia before we go to breastfeeding. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Liz. Once again, my name is Kadhomi Mutembei. I am a pediatric nutritionist. Yes.
So, kuna kitu nimeachilia hapo kwa hiyo recap?
You've done a good recap. Yeah.
So someone asked, there's a question that we needed to look at, and wow, why is it escaping my mind? I think tutaipata along the way. So breastfeeding today and complementary feeding. What do you have to say about it from the expert point of view? You being the expert, alafu tutakuuliza maswali.
Okay. So breastfeeding, when it comes to breastfeeding babies, the recommendation for human babies is they should be breastfed exclusively for 6 months. That is from birth up to the age of 6 months. Exclusively means you're breastfeeding this baby without giving anything else, only breast milk. And usually breast milk for those 6 months is usually adequate to support the healthy growth and development of the baby. So there is no need to add anything to the breast milk unless a medical doctor recommends maybe a medicine, maybe the baby is unwell and there is medicine recommended. But when it comes to the feeding, breast milk is usually adequate to provide and support healthy growth and development for those 6 months. What I would say about breastfeeding is usually it's a natural process. All mammals, not just human beings, all mammals, mammals are those animals that suckle their young ones. They are born with that ability. The female mammals, once they give birth, they are born with that ability to suckle their young ones. And it is similar to humans. Once a mother gives birth, breastfeeding is a natural process. Even the baby that is born, they are born with those instincts and the reflexes of breastfeeding. If you just put a newborn baby on the mother's tummy, they will start having those suckling movements or sounds, and actually the baby is usually able to move towards the breast. So without even putting the baby on the breast, some of the baby will move and look for the breast immediately after birth. It's a natural and inborn ability.
You say it's natural, but for most mothers, it's a struggle.
Yes.
Actually, it's very painful. Part of postpartum depression, I think some of those things begin from there. Because once the baby comes, you go 2-3 days, you've not produced any milk, and your baby is struggling. So what probably causes that kind of a situation where the mother is not able to produce, yet you're saying it's a natural process?
It's a natural process. One of the problems that I've observed is once the mother is pregnant, especially first-time mothers, they are not well prepared on what to expect or how they should breastfeed their babies. So there's an assumption that a woman will know how to breastfeed, and it is not true. Most women, actually, that first experience is the first ever they have ever seen. There are women who have never seen a baby breastfeeding, or they don't know how you hold the baby, how you latch the baby. So we assume that it is known and it is not known. So I usually encourage teaching the mother breastfeeding techniques before she gives birth, during the last semester. She should be told everything that she needs to know about breastfeeding. Teach her to latch the baby, teach her what to expect, the conditions that she can expect when breastfeeding the baby. So when it comes to like painful nipples,
Yes.
usually it results because of poor latching. And most of the first-time mothers experience that.
I don't think it's first-time mothers. For some, it's even if you have 3, 4 children,
They still struggle
you
on latching.
still struggle with the painful nipples and cracked nipples.
Yes, cracked nipples, yeah. So that is one problem, the latching issue. The other one is also how often do you breastfeed the baby? Because most of the time you find the mother only knows that they should breastfeed the baby because the baby has cried. So they will wait until the baby cries for them to breastfeed, when that is not the case. They should breastfeed the baby on demand, because you see, especially newborn babies sleep for a very long time, and they may not wake as often as possible to breastfeed. So the milk, the breast will fill up with milk, and the mother, if the mother stays with that milk for a long time, it can bring problems. So those are things that she needs to know, so that she's prepared, she's taught to express, so that she's able to, if the breast is full and the baby is not able to finish, or the baby takes long to breastfeed, she expresses the breast milk. Yes.
So we also have a category of mothers, milk production ni kidogo. Even if you take 5 flasks of uji and 3 plates of jahe, you still have. And by the way, are those things real? Ama tunakulanga tu because we Africans, and we are forced to take like 5 flasks in a day ya uji, and then jahe iko hapo, and then kuna supu, and then kuna ingine nimesikia hata supu ya ngamia is very effective these days. What can a mother do, or are those things true in the first place, if you have kidogo milk?
Okay, so we need to assess, because most of the time, with my experience, is psychological. The mother feels or thinks the milk is not enough, when actually it is enough. Yes. So there are 2 things that you, as a nutritionist, I'll look out for me to conclude that the milk is not enough.
Yes.
So one, it's not even about the quantity. It's about how the baby, the response of the baby. If the baby is feeding and the baby is full, that milk is adequate. If the baby is able to breastfeed on demand and they actually get full, that milk is adequate. Number 2, if the baby is adding weight. For newborns below 6 months, at least 20 grams every day is recommended, or is a good sign to show that that milk is adequate. So if the baby is not adding weight, because this baby is supposed to go to the clinic for growth monitoring every month.
Yes.
And one of the things that is monitored is weight. So if during birth, for example, a baby was born with 3 kilos, and then at 6 weeks, they have not added any weight, or even they have lost it, or they have added very little weight, less than half a kilo, I will now start questioning how the mother is breastfeeding. Is the baby getting full? Is the milk adequate? So those are the 2 things that we can use to conclude. Otherwise, most of the time, mothers think the baby is not getting enough because of the baby crying. Newborns are known to cry, especially the first 3 weeks. They cry a lot, whether it's a boy or a girl, they cry a lot. And then there are those
But there are those who cry more than others.
There are those who cry more than others because of because of a condition called colic.
Yeah, because I think I have been there and I know the experience where
Yes.
it can be really traumatizing at some point, especially if it's a firstborn and they come and decide to cry. And you're saying the condition is colic?
Yes, there is colic. But before now we conclude this is colic, usually in the first 3 weeks, this baby, remember this baby is coming from a comfort environment where
Yeah.
they were just held up together. There was no so much disturbance. Now the baby has been born. They are trying to adapt. There is light, there is air, there is cold, there is the sun, there is noise, there is the touch and all that. So the baby is trying to adapt. And sometimes the baby can be cranky and baby cries. And that is normal.
So this
That
does
is-
not determine that you have no milk, the
Yes,
crying.
yes. In the first 3 weeks, that is the baby even sleeping. Sometimes it's difficult. You find most of the mothers get sleep deprived in the first 3 weeks, and I tell them that's normal. And once the baby start adapting, the baby now will start sleeping for longer periods and breastfeeding until they are able to finish the breast milk in, even in both breasts. But before then, the baby is just adapting. Now, after 3 weeks, if the baby continues to cry and they're inconsolable, whatever you do, the baby is not able to be consoled, that is what we call colic. And colic usually happens in some babies because the baby's gut is very immature. And when they start feeding, the gas, milk is high in lactose. Breast milk is high in lactose. And lactose, when it's broken down in the intestine, it forms gas. And that gas can be trapped. If the baby is not able to pass that gas properly, it will be trapped in the intestines. And because the intestines are so much immature, they become very painful. Even if you have bloating, you feel pain. So that's what the baby is going through. And the only way to communicate is crying. Okay? So the baby will keep crying. And now we cannot stop breastfeeding because of that, because it's a normal process and it ends. Once the intestines of the baby will be mature by the third month. Usually beyond that month, if the baby continues to cry, now the doctor can assess what else. But before then, we tell the mother, just practice things that can help remove the gas from the baby's gut, because the gut is so immature it's not able to expel the gas on its own. So you can burp the baby after every feed. Make sure the baby has burped. You can practice what we call cycling movements on the legs. You lift the baby's legs and you do like a cycling movement.
When the baby is lying
Yes,
down?
yes.
Oh.
You lift their legs up, then you do cycling movements. You massage their tummy. You rub their tummy in circular motion, massaging gently. That one will help release the gas. And also sometimes also it can be what you call a poop. The baby is not also able to pass the poop, so it's trapped in there and it becomes so painful and uncomfortable. So all those things can help the baby's gut to release the gas and release the poop. So those are some of the things that we can help the baby. I really discourage on so many products being sold in the market claiming they can help with colic.
Yeah.
Most of the time they don't work. Yeah,
Yes.
most of the time they don't work because this is a physiological problem, not so much like a disease or something. And then also I encourage the mother to have someone to help her, because you can imagine the baby is crying during the day, the baby is crying during the night. That can stress the mother a lot. So the mother should have someone to help her so that someone can hold the baby and the mother can sleep. So if it's during the night, the daddy, you can do shift, one to sleep for a certain number of hours, the other one to hold the baby. And hold the baby away, maybe in the sitting room, and the mother sleeps. If it's during the day, the nanny can help or a friend can come and help hold the baby so that the mother can sleep. Yeah.
So this stress, can it cause the milk to reduce?
Yes. So when it comes to milk production, because it's also a natural process, usually milk production is influenced by hormones. There are usually two hormones that influence milk production when some mother gets a baby. One of them is what we call the prolactin hormone. Prolactin hormone is what enables the synthesis or the biosynthesis of milk in the breast cells, in the what we call the milk duct or the alveoli, the cells of the breast, the milk to be processed there. Then the other one is called oxytocin. Oxytocin is what helps the milk to come out. So there should be a balance. There should be a balance of those two hormones. So a mother that is not producing adequate breast milk, most of the time it's because of there is a problem with those two hormones and nutrition. Remember, I always say nature does not give poor quality products unless there's an interference. So there is the nutrients that are supposed to be contained in the breast milk. So if the mother is lacking some of those nutrients from the body will rather produce small but high quality. That's what it will do. So you find most of the mothers, due to poor nutrition, they have a malnutrition in deficiency, especially vitamins and minerals. If they have a problem with vitamins and minerals, zinc, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin B, yeah, if those are not available or she's not consuming adequate of those, the milk production can be less. Then when it is a stressing environment, if the environment is very stressing for the mother, that will affect the hormones. The prolactin levels will go down, so the mother will not produce adequate milk. The other one is the frequency of breastfeeding. The more the mother breastfeeds, the more the breast milk is produced.
Is it so?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you're telling the body there is high demand, so the body will try to keep up with that demand. So I tell the mothers, try as much as possible. If the baby is sleeping for long hours, at least every 2 hours, just express the breast milk. Or if the baby is able to breastfeed every 2 hours, the better. If they are not able to express the breast milk. So when you communicate to the body that there is demand, the body will continue producing a lot of breast milk. The other one is also genetical. We are not all the same. Women are not the same.
Yes.
There are women who produce a lot of milk, and there are others who produce little milk, but the both of them, that milk is adequate for the baby. The same way we have animals, especially the dairy animals, we have those animals, the breeds that have a lot of milk and the breeds that produce little milk. But the milk is adequate for their young ones. It's the same with the women. Okay? There are women who produce a lot of breast milk, and there are women who produce not so much. But both of them, when they breastfeed their baby, it's adequate. The baby is adding the correct amount of weight. There's one producing so much, they have to keep expressing and store in the freezer. They fill a whole freezer. And there's this other one, they don't have any left to express and store. The baby is finishing all of it. But it's adequate because the baby is growing healthy and the baby is adding weight the right way. So both of them is okay. So we are not all the same. So those are some of the things that can affect that.
So besides the genes and of course what you eat and the frequency of breastfeeding, hormones and stress management, sometimes they say the quality, not quality really, quality of milk, yes, produced is so much dependent on what you eat.
Yes.
So if you eat njahe, for example, maziwa ni mzito. If you take chocolate only, black chocolate, your milk is a little bit thin. Let me use that, thin. Is that really going to have the same nutritional value as the one producing the thick, quote unquote, milk?
So when we talk in those terms, when you say breast milk is thick and another one is thin, what are we talking about? Are we talking about the fat content or are we talking about the lactose content? Because those are the two major energy sources of breast milk. Yeah. So usually, scientifically, we look at the content, the fat content. You will find in 100 ml, that mother who produces a lot of breast milk, in 100 ml, they have less fat content compared to a mother who produces less milk. So if you take that mother producing less milk and the other one producing a lot of milk, 100 ml of each, the fat content varies. So the one that is producing a lot, the baby will get more milk to cover the energy requirement. This one producing less milk, with just a little milk, the baby is also getting adequate energy for their growth. So nutrition may not really influence that because that is genetical. However,
so even if you took all the soups in the world, it will not really interfere
with the content. Yes, it will not interfere with the quality of the milk. However, during breastfeeding, the fluid content, the fluid needs of a mother are doubled. So the mother should take a lot of fluids. So that's why you find we'll maybe encourage them to take soups, to take tea, to take porridge, to take that, because to take water, because they need a lot of fluid, because breast milk is fluid. So they need to drink a lot of fluid. These others that we say, like the njahe, like the soup and all that, it's the protein content. Because breast milk is also a protein medium. So it's the protein content. And once you get a mother well nourished, they're able to produce adequate breast milk for the baby. So when it comes to amount of milk, really it's the hormone that will determine. And when you eat the foods, those foods are supporting the balancing, the hormonal balance. Because Jahe is known. Jahe is not just for mothers who are breastfeeding. Even someone with issues with hormonal problems, they will get help.
Oh.
Yes, because it's what you call, yeah, because it promotes the female hormones. It's a what do you call those? Not just jahe, even kunde, the cowpeas, the pigeon peas, those grains. They are one they are high in protein. Two, they are also I'm forgetting the scientific name. They stimulate or they promote the production of female hormones. So they are good for women, not just a breastfeeding mother. And that is why you get that effect when the mother eats those grains. They stimulate a production of more milk. Not directly that the njahe is stimulating the production of milk. It's because njahe is supporting the body to produce more prolactin to synthesize more milk.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So even women who are not breastfeeding and have got hormonal
Yes.
issues, those njahes and whatever can help solve the problem.
Yes.
Okay. We are also learning something.
Yeah. And also
for
there are
of
those
us.
there are also those foods that are anti those hormones. You also need to remove them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Higher. Sometimes the assumption is that if your milk production is little, you can supplement. From a nutritional point of view, okay, let me explain supplement. Some are told you can do goat milk, but dilute it. Cow milk, dilute it, or go for the formulas that we have in the market. From a nutritional point of view, what is your take on that?
Yeah. Usually it's called mixed feeding. You're breastfeeding the baby and giving something else other than breast milk.
Yeah.
That is mixed feeding, and it is really discouraged. It's really discouraged because, as I said, for us to conclude that this
no
milk at all, we have gone the baby is now like 4 months because we've been trying to fix the nutrition, we have fixed the stress, we have fixed your hormone issue. So usually, and these things work. So unless a mother has a serious medical condition that the doctor will confirm now, here, we need to do something about this baby. Because we don't just look at the mother, actually the first person we look at is the baby. Is the baby adding weight? Is the baby growing healthy? Is the baby getting full? If all those are met, then the quantity doesn't matter. But when now it comes to supplementing, it is discouraged. Because once you start adding other milk for the baby, there are two things that can happen. One, the baby will stop breastfeeding, or the baby will dislike breast milk, and they will now want to take what you're introducing. That is one. Number two, I would really be worried about the nutrition value of the milk or whatever you're giving the baby. Because remember, human milk is specifically made by nature to feed a human baby. Goat milk is specifically made to feed a baby goat, a kid. Cow milk is specifically made to take care of the calf. These three animals are different. The human baby, the goat baby, and the cow baby, those three are very different. They have different nutrition needs. And also, remember, a baby is a foundation of an adult.
Yes.
These three, when they grow up, when they become adult, they have different functions. There's one example I love using a lot. The calf will not need to go to school to learn. They will not need to talk, to
Yes.
speak, to potty train. So when you start giving cow's milk to the baby, to a human baby, who needs to speak, who needs to go to school and excel, you're giving the cow the responsibility of raising a human baby. What do you want this baby to become when they grow up? Because the calf is growing up to become a cow. What do you want the human baby to become? You see? So the nutrition value of animal milk is very different. And what is usually recommended is, especially for babies whose mothers are deceased, we give infant formula because it has been modified. Not that it is similar to breast milk. Nothing can be, human beings cannot make anything similar to what nature provides. But it can be modified to support the healthy growth of this baby. Okay? And usually for this, we give it to babies when the mother is dead, because in our country, maternal mortality is very high. You hear a mother died at childbirth and all that. So those babies do not need to be subjected to cow's milk and to goat milk and all that. They can benefit from the infant formula, the modified animal milk, because infant formula is made from cow's milk. It's just modified so that the nutrition value is close to breast milk. That is one. The other one is the danger of supplementing is also sustainability. Infant formula is very expensive. And before a mother starts to consider that, we also need to look at sustainability, because if it is not well used, because there is the quantity that should be given to the baby according to their age. If the mother is not able to provide adequate of that, we will have a risk of malnutrition.
Yes.
We will have babies with underweight and stunting or failure to thrive because the mother decided to introduce these alternative feeds, and the feeds are not adequate. They are not able to provide adequate amount for that baby. Because remember, below 6 months, you're feeding the baby on demand. So even if you're using anything else, you're using on demand. And that's why you find for infant formula, a baby can exhaust one tin in 2 or 3 days. How sustainable is that for that mother?
It's expensive. And
Yeah.
those things are quite
They are very
pricey.
expensive, they are pricey. The preparation, because you dilute it with water, which water are you using? This is a baby below 6 months. They're not supposed to be even drinking water in the first place. So what water are you using? Is it safe drinking water? The utensils you will use, the cleaning of those utensils, you see. So it's a whole complex issue. So it's usually easy, if the mother is alive and healthy, it's easy to fix the mother to produce breast milk, which is also, which is successful. For me, my success rate is very high. Out of 10 mothers who have those issues, all of them, or maybe one, I would say maybe one, and that one has a condition that the doctor will need to intervene. But usually when you fix some of those things that make the mother not produce adequate milk, they are fixable. So when it comes now to the baby who has no mother at all, that one now we can talk about supplementing with infant formula. Whole cow's milk, whole goat milk, whether you add water, whether you add whatever you will add, it is not suitable for feeding an infant.
Umesikia? Let the child breastfeed, and any mother can produce good enough quality milk for their child.
Yeah.
So I think some of the things we have believed out here are just a lie. Imagine they're just a lie. That, oh, you know, when the baby cries, they're hungry. Deal with colic. And we have given you a free lesson on how to handle colic. I wish my babies were younger now. I'd go and try it with them and on them, because we didn't know that.
Yeah.
We struggled and all that. But we thank God for this opportunity that you're able to learn and you're able to come across some of this content that we are producing, and for sure, they'll make your life a little bit easier through the breastfeeding and taking care of your child, that journey. So again, we have a little bit of, I don't call it a myth, but I can call it a myth, that when you breastfeed a lot, your boobs will start dropping, they will sag. True or false?
That is true,
Yeah.
and that is what they are meant for.
To sag?
Yes.
They are meant to sag.
Let me explain. What is the purpose of I love using scientific words so that we get the point.
Yes.
What is the purpose of mammary glands in female mammals? The whole purpose is to produce milk to feed their young ones in the first months of life. Remember, exclusive breastfeeding is not only for humans. All mammals exclusively breastfeed their animals for a certain period of time. Gorillas do it for a year. Gorillas and chimpanzees, our cousins in the wild, they do it for a year, as we do it for 6 months. Elephants do it for around 8 months. Cows do it, only that cows, the exclusive breastfeeding has really been interfered with by human beings. But in the wild, a cow would exclusively breastfeed its calf for around 6 or 7 months. So it's done by all mammals, including the rats, including the moles. Every mammal does that. So that is number one function of the mammary glands. So when we have that in mind, we will not now start attaching other functions to our breasts. They are not for beauty, they are not for aesthetic, that is the purpose. So what I tell young mothers is breastfeed your young one without worrying about the sagging of the breast, because the function of the breast is to feed this baby. Once you're done breastfeeding, in this day and age, you shouldn't be worried about sagging breasts, because we have technology that can reconstruct breasts. Instead of you refusing to breastfeed your baby to preserve the firmness of your breast, save the money that you used to buy the supplement and all this. Save that money. Once you complete feeding your baby, breastfeeding your baby, then you can have reconstructive surgery if it is such a big issue for you.
Okay. So whether you breastfeed or you don't, is there a place where the boobs will just naturally give in?
Yeah, because yes, because the only time a woman has the firm breast is when they are young, when their breasts are forming during adolescence and young adulthood. Usually below 25 years, that's when you are likely to find a girl with those firm standing breasts, because they are forming. So when they are forming, they are that firm end. Even, yeah. Past that, that muscle starts becoming, relaxing, it starts to relax because again of hormones. Because as you get older, those growing hormones wear off. So now you're now a woman. You're now ready to become a mother. So your estrogen levels start going up. So estrogen is known to be a hormone that relaxes muscles, not just the breast muscles, all the muscles in your body, including the face, including the hands, including the hips. Those muscles will start relaxing, so they will look like they are sagging. So what is encouraged is, one, the natural way, what I advise young mothers to do, just be physically active, especially when you do your abs. You firm up your abdominal muscles so they are able to hold your breast somehow, not so much, but somehow they are able to hold them in place. The other one is when you're physically active, you firm up your muscles, you tone your muscles, so you have more muscle tissue than fat tissue, so you will reduce the rate at which your muscles relax or sag. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, umesikia, you breastfeed or you don't. Nature will take its course. So you better take care of that baby very well. When they need the milk, give them the milk.
Yeah.
Higher. So now we are at complementary feeding. Please explain on this one.
Okay. So after 6 months of now exclusive breastfeeding the baby, breast milk is no longer adequate to support the growth rate of the baby.
Yes.
Remember, during these 6 months, the baby is supposed to double their weight. So from birth to 6 months, they're supposed to double their weight. So now at 6 months, we need to start introducing foods. The foods that we're introducing to the baby are the same foods the mother has been eating. Remember, we said in our last session that babies learn taste and flavors of foods the mother is eating through the amniotic fluid before they are born, and through breast milk when they are breastfeeding. So whatever the mother has been eating during breastfeeding, the baby already knows. So those are the easiest foods to start introducing to the baby. So you start there. But the first foods you give are foods that are mild in taste.
What?
Mild in
Mild
taste.
in taste.
The foods that do not have strong flavors and tastes. You don't start with fruit, for example.
Oh.
You will not start with a fruit because fruit is sweet. You don't introduce that. You introduce mild taste like a potato, a banana, something that is bland in taste. That's the first foods you start. That's the first day. The second day you start introducing the foods that are mild in taste. And then maybe after a week, that's when now you start introducing the strong flavored foods like the fruits. Even frying the food, I discourage mothers to start with fried foods because they are strong in flavor. So start frying your baby's food a little bit like a week after you've started introducing the foods. So this first week, you're making the baby, you introduce the baby to the bland taste. Then now you can start adding one by one. We add gradually, one food at a time, so that you can see the baby's response in terms of they're liking it and in terms of also if they're reacting to it. However, for you to minimize, because the biggest worry mothers have when introducing foods is allergies.
Yes.
For you to minimize the risk of allergy, those foods you're eating during pregnancy and breastfeeding, those are the foods you should be feeding your baby because they are already exposed to those foods. If you've not been eating fish, for example, during pregnancy and breastfeeding, or you ate it so rarely, don't be quick to give the baby. As much as fish is very nutritious, don't be so quick to give the baby. So those foods that you eat in your house, those are the foods you. So whatever will, because now if you've walked a nutrition journey during pregnancy and breastfeeding, you've already been eating the healthy balance for making a baby, for the feeding a baby. Because last time we said you're feeding your baby from conception.
Yes.
So it's a continuous process. So you've been feeding them during pregnancy. We have fed them during exclusive breastfeeding. Now you're feeding. Now the baby is now eating on their own. So it's the same foods. If you've been eating matoke and beef, that is what you're giving the baby when they start eating.
But supposing I was eating very spicy food.
If you're eating very spicy food, as I said, now you will.
When I was expectant.
Yes. So the baby, okay, the baby is already exposed, but immediately when they start eating, you don't start giving those strong flavors of spices. You introduce them gradually. You start giving adding garlic and ginger and the cinnamons and all that slowly, gradually, not immediately. Now today the baby is 6 months. Now you give them the spicy pilau and beef and stew. No, you start gradually. Everything you add gradually.
So even if we're adding, I'm looking at a woman who had a craving probably for the spicy, deep fried kind of chicken that we buy around, the spicy ones, very spicy ones. And you're saying I can start to introduce my child, or a child can introduce, hapa nako kunaendaje?
Okay.
Then again, another one, you are craving probably for sodas. So the baby's already, when they were in the womb, they already tasted, quote unquote, the soda. So, I'm lost.
You are lost because last time we said the unhealthy cravings, we deal with them.
Yeah, okay. I get it.
So if a mother has been craving soda and they have been taking soda, they were not under a nutritionist. They were on their own. And that is a very dangerous thing because, one, even during pregnancy, some of these things trigger diabetes. There's what we call gestational diabetes. They can trigger it. And many mothers usually are not aware that they have it, and it will end up affecting the baby. So a pregnant mother that has been walking, we are talking about an ideal situation. However, when the ideal situation is not there, now we look at nutrition. If a mother has been eating very unhealthy foods, and now those are the foods now I'm telling her the foods you've been eating is what you give the baby. Now there we'll have to look at the nutrition needs of our baby. Okay? So you start looking at what the baby needs, and those are the foods that you give the baby. Because it's very unlikely the mother has been eating all through the unhealthy foods. At some point, even before they got pregnant, maybe because of food aversions or other, like mothers who don't eat meat at all during pregnancy, they start eating it during breastfeeding. They start eating, for example, there are mothers who hate beans when they are pregnant. There are mothers who cannot stand fried foods. There are mothers who cannot stand potatoes, food aversions during pregnancy. So we start rectifying that during breastfeeding. And then during complementary feeding, it's those foods that they eat at home that we are going to combine to come up with a healthy diet for the baby. Usually for children, we don't talk about balanced diet. We talk about adequate nutrition. Because at 6 months, babies below 5 years usually require 3 to 5 times more nutrients than adults.
And not balanced diet.
Yes, we don't talk of balanced diet. The diet can be balanced, but it's not giving the baby adequate nutrition. So we talk about adequate nutrition in terms of what does the baby require and what are those critical nutrients the baby needs. At 6 months, the most critical nutrient the baby requires is iron. That is one. Because remember we said the baby is born with adequate iron stores to last them the 6 months of breastfeeding. So by 6 months, the iron is depleted. Iron is very critical for brain formation. Anemia implicates brain cell formation for babies. So we are going to start looking at iron-rich foods. And the baby should eat this on a daily basis. Then we go to vitamin A. Vitamin A is depleted again because they have been born with it, and now during breastfeeding, they get through breast milk. But now look at the demands. The baby is forming the eyes, the baby is developing their immunity because now they have started being introduced to foods. At 6 months, the baby can sit down and is able to grab things around and put in their mouth. So we need the immunity to be well developed. So they need a lot of vitamin A, vitamin C. They need a lot of vitamin B for the brain development. They need a lot of essential fatty acids, the ones we call omega-3 and omega-6. The baby also requires a lot of energy because they are growing. So all this, so we have to combine, we have to come up with a diet that is going to give adequate nutrition for the baby so that we make sure they are not going to be deficient of these nutrients. Yeah.
Then, okay. So you're saying the baby can eat what the mother is eating 6 months going forward?
Yes.
But then again, we have, I don't know if it's a myth, that the baby cannot swallow hard food.
Yes.
So what do?
We modify the food.
And we blend it, and it becomes slimy, becomes soup,
Yeah.
becomes like juice, and it is food.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to tell us is we should avoid that route, if I'm hearing you right.
Yes, blending, okay. It depends with what you're blending.
I'm talking of food, because people get ugali and the soup ya ugali, ya nyama, and
Then they blend, yeah. Okay. Usually, I discourage blending baby food to very smooth, like juice. Yeah, it shouldn't be smooth, because remember, teeth development is stimulated by a chewing reflex.
Where? Umesikia?
You see, nowadays mothers are worried. My baby is 1 year; they have not grown teeth. What's happening? Because teeth, the baby needs to. You need to stimulate some of these. You know, it's nature. It's a natural process, and it's stimulated. You have to, some of these things have to be stimulated. So, don't make the baby's food smooth. What I say, if, for example, you are cooking beans for the baby, and bananas, for example, and meat. You can have the meat minced. You don't have to blend it. You can mash the beans, and you can mash the bananas. If it is vegetables, just cut into small, fine pieces. So you don't have to blend. Blend those things that are really complex, like, for example, maybe nuts.
Yes.
You can blend the nuts, and not into a smooth paste, but crush it. Instead of blending, just crush it, like you blend for a second of 30 seconds or 1 minute. Just crush it into small pieces. Don't make it smooth. Yeah.
So this time we've introduced these foods, do we simply say, hooray, me and breastfeeding, see you next season?
No, that's why it's called complementary feeding. Complementary feeding means you're complementing breast milk. It's done from 6 months to 2 years. You're complementing breast milk. The baby will continue breastfeeding, but now you're adding family
2
foods.
years.
Yes.
We need to underline that.
Yes, up to the age of 2
Up
years.
to 2 years. As we used to breastfeed, unaendea stool, unaweka hapa chini, unaambia mom, come. Your mother sits. So I think we did more than 2 years.
Yeah. You see? And that is very important. And one thing mothers need to understand why, it's because brain development of a baby, 80% is developed up to the age of 2 years. After 2 years, very little brain cells are formed. So the majority of the brain cells, intelligence, and all the abilities of a human being are formed during that time. And breast milk carries those important nutrients that form brain cells. We call them fats, phospholipids. And they are very high only in human milk. That is why I say it's only the human that is more intelligent than other animals because of the content, because of their brain cell. And to form those smart brain cells, you need these phospholipids. So the baby should continue breastfeeding, not because breast milk is making them full, but because of that content of the fat that you cannot find in any other.
In
It
any
is
other
not,
food
yes,
given.
it's only found in breast milk, in human milk. You'll not find it in cow's milk, you'll not find it in meat, you'll not find it in eggs. It's only specific for human milk. That's why it's encouraged, continue breastfeeding your baby up to the age of 2 years, so that you support the healthy brain and development of the baby. Yes.
So umesikia, so the minute you introduce the food, it does not mean you drop the breastfeeding, you continue, but I guess you can continue past 2 years. Well,
Yeah,
if you have
just
the-
continue. It's if you're able to continue. Actually, ideally, in nature, ideally, breastfeeding was supposed to continue until the baby removes the first tooth. When the first tooth comes out, that is around the age of 6 years. When the first tooth come
Sorry,
out,
you mean the milk teeth are removed?
when they come out, they start coming out around 6 years.
Okay.
That is now in a natural, so if you are in the wild, like our gorilla friends, we would be required, for
To
example,
continue up to that.
you would stop breastfeeding when the first tooth comes out. And that is around 6 years, because that is when now, when the milk teeth start coming out, is when now maybe, now the baby is, you can wean off the baby. Yeah, that is like what we would call ideal. However, because of now science came and now we are able to study human development and all that, the most important time to breastfeed your baby is up to 2 years.
Yes.
Beyond, not so, if one wants, it's okay, but the most critical time is 2 years because of the function of the breast milk in brain development. Yeah.
So there are times when a mother is not able to do the 2 years. Probably they conceive along the journey. Do they stop the breastfeeding because they are expectant with probably the second or the third child, or can the two go together?
Yeah, okay, it's perfectly safe for a pregnant mother to continue breastfeeding. The only thing I'll be worried about is if they are able to consume adequate nutrition to support the two, to support pregnancy demands and breastfeeding demands.
Yes.
If the mother is able to eat well and they are having adequate nutrition, it's perfectly safe and okay for the mother to continue breastfeeding. Yeah.
So as we wind up, we have a few minutes. Let's assume we've hit the 6 months, and now we have to do the complementary feeding. Let's do, for example, day 1 for us. Give us just a sample of where we can begin. Now that you said we don't begin with the fruits, so that we can know at what point we will introduce the fruits. And then you said we can do this for at least a week. Do we continue with the same? Like, for example, if I do a potato Monday, potato Tuesday, potato Wednesday, week inaisha, and then I bring a banana Monday or that. Or how do you go about it?
Okay, yeah. Usually, you start with one product. Then I usually say you start with one product, then you gradually add other products slowly. So if today, for example, today is the first day I'm feeding the baby,
Yes.
maybe I can mash a potato and give the baby. You remember at 6 months, the baby is still breastfeeding a lot.
Yes.
So the baby only have 2 tablespoons in one meal.
It's good to highlight
You
that.
see,
Yes.
just 2 tablespoons, and that you do maybe twice a day. You do in the morning and in the evening. So the first day you're not cooking lunch, supper, dinner for the baby. No, the baby will continue breastfeeding, and if it's a baby that the mother is going to work, you continue expressing breast milk for the baby. Then you now introduce maybe 2 tablespoons of a mashed potato that day. Then the following day, you can do the same sweet potato, but now you can add some vegetables, for example. Then you can do this for 3 days. Then now you can introduce something else. Now, when the baby eats the potato for 3 days, that is adequate for you to tell if the baby likes it and also if there is any reaction. Then now you can bring something else like rice. You can now bring rice. You boil the rice, make it soft for the baby. Now you can now add maybe a pumpkin or carrot or something like that. Then you do again the same way for 3 days. Then you introduce something else. Now you can do maybe mashed beans with ugali, or beef, minced beef with ugali. You do it for 3 days. By usually in 2 weeks time, in 10 days,
You've stabilized and you have
yes, now the baby can eat whatever you're eating. However, what I say is the baby cannot be waiting for lunch to be cooked for the whole family for them to eat. Remember, babies have high nutrition needs,
Yes.
not high food needs. Babies don't eat a lot of food. They need a lot of nutrients compared to an adult. So the baby will not be waiting for lunch like others. So you have to have a feeding plan.
Yes.
And when you're doing a feeding plan, we plan the way the baby is, it's called responsive feeding. We feed the baby depending on how hungry they become. So you have to learn when your baby is hungry, you feed them. So you plan the feeds that you're going to give the baby that day, because the baby might be hungry before lunchtime. For example, you decided now in the morning the baby will take, for example, the baby is going to have, for example, a banana or porridge. Kenya, here we do porridge a lot. Maybe you give the baby porridge in the morning. The baby may not wait for lunch. Maybe after 2 hours at 10 or 11, they may be hungry.
Yes.
So you need to have that feeding plan, like after this meal, what is next and what is next. The baby may not want to eat when you want them to eat because they are not yet hungry. They might be hungry after even 4 hours. So you need to have that plan in mind because you're feeding the baby responsively. So I usually say babies do not need a meal plan and do not need a timetable. You know, the way mothers, especially working mothers, they're the ones who have a lot of problems with feeding babies. In the morning, give the baby this. After 2 hours, give the baby this. After another 2 hours, give the baby this. So the baby has like 6 things to eat during the day. And when the mother comes from work, the baby did not eat, you start quarreling your nanny.
Yes.
This nanny is not taking care of the oil of my baby. Even they didn't give them fruit, they didn't give them the milk, the baby did not finish food. You need to train the nanny responsive feeding. You train the nanny responsive feeding, you have a feeding plan that when the baby eats this, the next meal, that is whatever time the baby will be hungry, this is what they will eat. And that is the reason why the baby's food needs to be highly nutritious. So that even if they are eating 2 tablespoons, or even if they will eat 3 tablespoons, those 3 tablespoons are high in nutrients. Because the baby, it is very unlikely that child at 6, especially below 9 months, they're going to eat 5 times in a day. And you want them to continue breastfeeding.
No, you know how we used to feed them? Me, on behalf of others. 8 porridge, 10 fruits, 12 lunch, 2 milk, 4 porridge, 7 food. So those are more than.
That is too much for the baby, and it is very unhealthy. And the babies who are fed that way, most of us who are fed that way have eating disorders.
But you've come across such cases?
Yes.
Yes.
That is why you're finding a lot of eating disorders in children who are fed that way, because they have not mastered their body to eat when they need to eat. Remember, healthy eating nowadays, even for all of us adults, you're only supposed to eat when you need to eat. Why are you having supper, breakfast? You're having breakfast,
'Cause it's
10
what we were
o'clock,
taught.
lunch, because you see, it
It's
started
what we were
there.
taught. We were
Yes.
taught that
So
you
they
have
were,
to eat.
you see, you are programmed from the early age that you're supposed to be eating every 2 hours,
Yes.
every 2 hours. It is so unhealthy. That's why we have eating disorders. We have a lot of food problems. When you're seeing babies with overweight, babies with diabetes, and all these conditions that people are getting even at a very early age, you find someone with hypertension at 40. It's because of that. That's an eating disorder. So only let the baby eat when they are hungry. It's called responsive feeding. You're responding to their hunger. So for you as a mom, only plan the meals that when the baby gets hungry, this is the meal they eat. The next time they are hungry, this is the meal they eat. It's called responsive feeding. So don't do meal plans, stop with the timetables, practice responsive feeding.
Okay. I hope we've learned something. For me, if I knew this before, I would not subject my children to eating 6 to 7 times in a day. On their behalf, since they'll also be watching this, I say sorry. And also on behalf of many others who did what I did, I think we acted out of ignorance. And we are grateful for having such content and people who have a wealth of experience in this field to be able to give us insights on how to go about it. Knowing when to feed your baby and knowing when your baby is hungry, that simply tells you that it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's not something you master in a day, because many times I think mothers get frustrated because I am not sure I'm getting this right. But we are simply here to say it's a journey. You will make mistakes here and there, but keep learning, but feed your child very, very well. So the last one as we finish, water. They say introduce water to the child. At what point do we introduce the water? Because already we're having food here, we're having porridge, we're having all these things. So when do we introduce water?
Yes, very important. And thank you for raising that up, because it's something that is so much underrated, giving the baby water. So once you start feeding the baby food, now they need water. So you need to give the baby water regularly.
Do we add glucose?
Do not add anything. The water should only be safe and clean for the baby to drink. So don't add anything. The other thing, because babies, when they are that young, they are not able to communicate thirst. So I advise mothers, keep water at their side, so that when they want, when they feel like,
they can signal.
Yes, they will go for the bottle and drink, or they will cry for it, or somehow they'll communicate they want water, because water is really forgotten. And a baby who is dehydrated, or a baby who is not getting enough water, will have problems with appetite. I've gotten mothers with 7-month-old babies who are not eating at all. And the problem is dehydration. The baby is not getting adequate water. So I tell the mother, give the baby water a lot. And in 2-3 days, they call me. By the way, it has worked. The baby is now eating well. It was dehydration, because they forget.
Yeah.
And you cannot schedule water, because dust comes, it can strike at any time. Another thing is also you need to consider the baby's stomach is very small. So if they are drinking water, remember, the water will also occupy the stomach. So you may not expect the baby to drink water and immediately after you want to feed them. So you need to really have a regular interval at how you give the baby water. But the best, because babies are human, babies are not small adults, they are small human beings. They will, when they are thirsty, you will see the signs. Just put water at sight, and they will always reach out, or they will cry for it. Or even you, it will be reminding you, oh, by the way, the baby has not drank water, then you give the baby water. Yes.
So you said we add nothing, because sometimes we're in the habit of adding some glucose kidogo hivi to make it tasty. Warm or room temperature?
It's not necessary.
Should we have it warm or at room temperature?
Yeah, room temperature is okay. When it comes to warm water, I'm sure all of us here, when you're thirsty and you take warm water, do you get quenched? Then don't do that to the baby. It's a small human being. Okay. Give the baby water that, as long as it's not very cold from the fridge, it's room temperature. Yeah, give the baby, because now if you give warm water, they will not get quenched. So the problem will be there. They will just be passing pee, they will be peeing, and the dust is still there. The same way you feel is the same way they'll feel. So give them water that can quench their thirst. So don't add anything. And do not replace water with other fluids. Don't give babies juice, don't give babies tea, just give plain water. Yes.
Wow, I actually wish during our days this info was available, because I'm also learning a lot, even way past that phase of breastfeeding. And we'll surely want to have you back, but for anyone who would want to get you, how can they get
Okay.
in touch with you?
Okay. They can get me online. Kathomi Mutembei on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm Kathomi, How to Make a Baby. And I have that How to Make a Baby series. I'm just communicating to mothers on how you brace up your baby, how you literally make a baby from conception all the way to the age of 5 years. My number is 0768063346.
Probably you can repeat again.
Yeah, my number is 0768 063346. You can WhatsApp me, you can call me. Usually I provide with a feeding plan. As I said, babies do not need timetables, babies do not need meal plans. So what I prepare for mothers is a feeding plan, and you can get it at just 500 shillings. Yes, thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much for the great info that you've shared. And as you said, we will have you back again, of course, for more of this, because we need to keep sharing this knowledge, keep sharing this info, so that we don't walk in ignorance and end up getting frustrated. And as you take care of that baby, kindly remember that the Lord has entrusted you with a gift. Nurture it. Take time. Be present. And do that which you have to do. Because as she says, for you to know when the baby is hungry, it is not rocket science. It has to take time. You have to be present to study some of these things. And guess what? The journey is beautiful. So sit back, relax, breastfeed your baby, kwa sababu stress itakata maziwa. That one is your take home for today. So you have to do it in a relaxed mode. Otherwise, I have so many things that I can flash back on what she has said, but we have to end it at this point. We truly hope that you've learned something, and this will make your life better and easier, even as you adjust to taking care of your baby. Otherwise, God bless you. See you next time.